Nigeria has been experiencing a wave of protests and escalating unrest in recent months, driven by a combination of economic hardship, political instability, and social discontent.
Firstly, thank you for watching, and don't forget to smash that like, subscribe, and notification bell for more global finance uncovered, as we continue to work hard and around the clock to always deliver and improve on our content for you. We would greatly appreciate your additional support by you clicking the like button, notification bell, and subscribe button and joining our channel's growth.
These protests, often spearheaded by youth movements, are in response to widespread corruption, government inefficiency, and the deteriorating living conditions in the country. The situation has been further aggravated by rising inflation, high unemployment rates, and a lack of basic amenities, which have left many Nigerians struggling to make ends meet. One of the major catalysts for the current unrest is the removal of fuel subsidies by the Nigerian government, which led to a sharp increase in fuel prices. This decision, made in an attempt to stabilize the economy, has been met with widespread opposition from the public. Many Nigerians view the subsidy removal as a further burden on their already strained finances, sparking nationwide protests and strikes. The government's failure to effectively communicate and mitigate the impact of this policy change has only fueled the anger and frustration among the populace. In addition to economic grievances, political tensions have also been on the rise. The 2023 general elections were marred by allegations of electoral fraud, voter suppression, and violence, further eroding public trust in the political process. The opposition parties have accused the ruling party of manipulating the electoral process to maintain power, leading to widespread protests demanding electoral reforms and greater accountability. These protests have sometimes turned violent, with clashes between demonstrators and security forces resulting in casualties. The security situation in Nigeria has deteriorated significantly, with increasing incidents of armed conflicts, banditry, and insurgency in various parts of the country. The Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast, ongoing for over a decade, continues to pose a severe threat to national stability. Additionally, the rise of bandit groups in the northwest and the activities of separatist movements in the southeast have further strained the country's security apparatus. The inability of the government to effectively address these security challenges has contributed to the growing sense of despair and disillusionment among the population. Economic instability has also played a significant role in the unfolding crisis. Nigeria, despite being one of Africa's largest economies, is heavily dependent on oil exports, making it vulnerable to fluctuations in global oil prices. The recent decline in oil revenue, coupled with a high debt burden and poor economic management, has led to a severe economic downturn. The naira, Nigeria's currency, has lost significant value, leading to skyrocketing prices of goods and services. The resulting economic hardships have further fueled public anger and discontent.
The social fabric of Nigeria is being tested as ethnic and religious tensions escalate. The country is home to over 250 ethnic groups, and the increasing polarization along ethnic and religious lines is deepening divisions within the society. These tensions have been exacerbated by the perceived marginalization of certain groups and the government's failure to address long-standing grievances. The fear of a potential breakup of the country along these fault lines is growing, with some analysts warning that Nigeria could be on the brink of collapse if these issues are not urgently addressed. Amidst the turmoil, civil society organizations and human rights groups have been at the forefront of advocating for change. They have been vocal in condemning the government's heavy-handed response to protests, which has often involved the use of excessive force and the arbitrary detention of activists. These organizations have also been instrumental in documenting human rights abuses and calling for accountability. However, their efforts have been met with resistance from the authorities, who view them as a threat to the status quo. The international community has expressed concern over the situation in Nigeria, with several countries and organizations calling for restraint and dialogue. The United Nations, African Union, and ECOWAS have all urged the Nigerian government to address the underlying causes of the unrest and to engage in meaningful dialogue with opposition groups and civil society. However, there is growing skepticism about the effectiveness of these appeals given the government's track record of ignoring such calls. The potential collapse of Nigeria poses significant risks not only for the country itself but for the entire West African region. As Africa's most populous nation and a key player in regional politics and economics, Nigeria's stability is crucial for the stability of the wider region. A collapse could lead to a massive humanitarian crisis with millions of people displaced and regional security severely compromised. The international community is closely monitoring the situation, aware that the repercussions of Nigeria's collapse would be felt far beyond its borders. Nigeria is at a critical juncture, facing a complex web of economic, political, and social challenges that threaten its stability. The ongoing protests and unrest are a reflection of deep-seated frustrations among the population, who are demanding change and accountability from their leaders. Without urgent and decisive action to address these issues, the risk of a full-scale collapse looms large, with potentially catastrophic consequences for Nigeria and the entire West African region. The Nigerian government has struggled to find effective solutions to the ongoing crisis, with policy responses often appearing reactive rather than proactive. In the face of protests and rising tensions, officials have attempted to implement measures such as temporary subsidies or wage increases to placate the public. However, these measures have often been insufficient or poorly executed, failing to address the root causes of the discontent. The lack of a coherent and long-term strategy has further undermined public confidence in the government's ability to manage the crisis. The role of social media in the current unrest cannot be underestimated. Platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram have become crucial tools for organizing protests, sharing information, and mobilizing support. Social media has enabled activists to bypass traditional media censorship and to reach a global audience, drawing international attention to Nigeria's struggles. However, the widespread use of social media has also led to the spread of misinformation and heightened tensions as different factions use these platforms to promote their narratives and agendas. The economic impact of the crisis is severe and multifaceted. Businesses across various sectors have been disrupted by the ongoing unrest, with many forced to close or reduce operations due to safety concerns and supply chain disruptions. The financial sector has also been affected, with investor confidence declining and foreign direct investment waning. The combination of these factors has led to a significant downturn in economic growth, exacerbating the already dire situation for ordinary Nigerians. The humanitarian situation is increasingly dire, with many Nigerians struggling to access basic necessities such as food, clean water, and medical care. The disruption of supply chains and the rising cost of living have made it difficult for people to afford essential goods and services. Additionally, the conflict and violence have displaced thousands, creating a growing population of internally displaced persons (IDPs) who are in urgent need of assistance. Humanitarian organizations are struggling to meet these needs amid the challenging and often dangerous conditions. Educational institutions have also been significantly impacted by the unrest. Many schools and universities have been forced to close or suspend classes due to security concerns and strikes by teachers and staff. The interruption of education for millions of students poses long-term risks to Nigeria's future as it hampers the development of the next generation of leaders and professionals. The education sector's struggles are a microcosm of the broader challenges facing the country.
The Nigerian government's response to the crisis has been marked by a heavy-handed approach, with security forces often clashing violently with protesters. Reports of human rights abuses, including arbitrary arrests, torture, and extrajudicial killings, have surfaced, drawing condemnation from both domestic and international observers. The government's reliance on force rather than dialogue has only served to escalate tensions and deepen the mistrust between the authorities and the public. In the political arena, calls for reform and change are growing louder. Opposition parties and civil society groups are demanding greater transparency, accountability, and democratic reforms to address the systemic issues contributing to the crisis. There are also increasing calls for a review of the current electoral system to ensure fair and credible elections in the future. However, the government's response to these demands has been slow and often dismissive, leading to further frustration and unrest. The international community's engagement with Nigeria has been varied, with some countries offering diplomatic support and others imposing targeted sanctions on individuals and entities deemed responsible for human rights abuses. While these measures aim to pressure the Nigerian government to address the crisis, their effectiveness remains uncertain. The challenge lies in balancing the need for immediate intervention with the long-term goal of supporting sustainable solutions to Nigeria's complex issues. The future of Nigeria remains uncertain, with many analysts warning that without significant reforms and improvements, the country could face prolonged instability and potential fragmentation. The ongoing protests and unrest are a stark reminder of the deep-seated problems that need to be addressed to ensure Nigeria's stability and prosperity. The path forward will require concerted efforts from both domestic and international actors to support Nigeria in overcoming its current challenges. In summary, Nigeria's current situation is a multifaceted crisis characterized by economic difficulties, political instability, and social unrest. The government's inadequate response and the escalating tensions have contributed to a challenging environment for millions of Nigerians. Addressing the crisis will require a comprehensive approach that tackles the root causes of discontent, promotes dialogue and reform, and ensures the protection of human rights and democratic principles. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to smash that subscribe, like, and notification bell for more global finance uncovered.